he did so well that there's not much I can tell you. I'm gonna try and see if I can help you understand what went on in my mind. This won't take long, I don't believe. The mission was, as John said, was to recover the remains and destroy any confidential material in that aircraft, black boxes, and didn't have a clue what a black box looked like or confidential publications. I went up to the VP squadron and asked them if they'd take me aboard an aircraft and show me what one looked like, the black box, and they wouldn't do it. I had a top secret clearance, but they wouldn't let me on the aircraft. One of the things that I insisted on when we started this thing was the Icelanders were trained on glacier work. They were good at it. They did it 3 and 4 times a year. They knew what to do in emergencies, and they were absolutely essential to us to go over there and go on that glacier. And I said that I didn't want to go. I didn't say I wouldn't go, but I said I didn't want to go without them. And there was some reluctance to take the Icelanders with us. They're good people, they're honest people, and they're hardworking people, and they're trained, well trained. So they said, okay, and we set it up real fast, and they all worked. They had jobs. They took the time off to go with us, and we went over there. It was a big experience for them. They were looking forward to doing it because they wanted the experience on the glacier somewhere else. But one of the things I wanted to do was to make sure that there was nobody picked up anything. They didn't put any souvenirs. They didn't take any pictures. And there's really not a lot of history floating around like that because we didn't do that. We didn't pick up anything. Everything we picked up, we turned over to John, and he took care of it. We found some dog tags. I don't remember any wallets. Do you remember wallets? Some flight suits with name tags on and a lot of remains, but there was nothing that was identifiable. The one thing that there's a couple things I would tell you. One is I don't think anybody survived that crash and suffered up there. I don't believe it happened. And I'm going to tell you why I don't believe it happened. The commander of that aircraft was buckled in his seat. When I found his seat, and it wasn't an intact cabin like you would look at and you see him sitting there, you can tell what it was, but it was a seat, and he was buckled in. His 5-point harness was on, his jacket was in there, it was unzipped, the t-shirt that he was wearing was in there, and his name tag was on the jacket, and it was I call it a summer flying suit, but I think it was maybe a liner. I'm not sure exactly what it was. But I didn't have any evidence of where the commander was at. So as I continued to work through, I got to go back to something in just a second, but as I continued to work through the area that I was working through, I ran across the remains of the commander. And there was not a lot remaining. The flesh was gone, the skull was there, the spine was there, and the dog tags were there. So I knew that this man and that seat went together. The impact to me, I'm not an expert, it blew him out of there. He went right around. So I think they hit the ground hard. There was no evidence of a fire, and there was no evidence of an explosion. It just tore that aircraft apart. And I don't believe anybody suffered up there. I don't even think they knew what happened to them when it was over. The unfortunate part about it is we haven't got everybody back. What we did when we got up there was we tried to figure out how that aircraft hit the ground. And then our plan was to figure out where it hit the ground, which was not very easy because it had moved, not much, but it moved every year. The glacier moved. And it moved the aircraft along with it. So we started moving snow. And that was what we did literally, was move snow. We had a line and we picked up the snow, moved it, put it in behind it, and went through as we went forward. And where we took it out here, we put it behind us, so we were covered up what we'd gone through before. And if we threw something out with the snow, we threw it out. We didn't mean to do it, but that's what happened. And we didn't realize at the time, and I didn't realize it until Bob Petway told me that about the geological crew going back. The ice cleared off in July, and you could see through it like looking through glass. And we could have found them if we'd had the time. But I used to say, and I got it from somebody else, a sergeant major or somebody in the Marine Corps that told me there's never enough time to do it right, and there's always time enough to do it over again. Except in this case, we haven't done it over again. Doesn't make any sense to me. And I don't understand the dollars and dimes and nickels and pennies involved in this thing. It's a lot of money. But they're still warriors, and we still owe them to bring them home. And I don't know how we're going to convince them to do that. But we need to keep trying. And we'll get it. I think it'll happen. And you're doing a grand job with this. Something else that I want to tell you, as a ground pounder and an infantry guy, you guys that flew around in airplanes and did that sort of thing, you were warriors and you were in a constant fight every day that you were in the air. You had to stay up there, you had to fly that thing. You went through the worst weather. Iceland had it. I remember how bad it was up there when it was snowing and we were trying to get planes back on the ground, or we were trying to get the snow out of the way so you could come back. And it was tough. And I don't think people realize what the patrol squadron people do. And they don't, the Navy folks do that are around you, and you do, but the rest of the world don't. They hear about guys going up in coffin carriers and making bombing runs and stuff like this, but the Air Force, but they don't understand what goes on with patrol squadron. You're unique. And you're madder than hell in your red pocket.
I was hanging around here and asked you, and answer any questions.
I'll see as long as you won't ask me questions. Yes, ma'am.
Why did that? Why couldn't you cover all?
Say it again. Uniform? We brought everything back we found. We didn't find all of them. Some of them were under the ice, were covered already.
We're also limited by time.
What? Something I want, yeah, thank you. One of the concerns was when I walked out on the deck that morning of that back of that icebreaker, and I looked at the wall of ice that we had to climb up. I didn't know about the helicopters. He was a Navy guy. He knew about the helicopters. I was the guy that was supposed to get us over there, and I didn't know about the helicopters. But I looked at that wall, and it was incredible. It was massive. It was huge, and there were icebergs floating around. It was. I looked at it and said, I don't know how we're going to get up there. And if we get up there, I don't know how we're going to get down. We had a bit of a problem with the weather changing. We knew there was a front coming, and they wanted to get us in there and get us out. We did what we could in the time that we had, and we thought we did pretty well. We really thought that we had everybody. Maybe it was a pipe dream, I don't know. But we thought we had everybody, but we knew we had to get off of there. If we didn't get off when the helicopters could get us off, we weren't going to get off of there, I didn't think. We would have had to walk down that glacier, which was, we were a long ways up there, down to there, through the crevasses and stuff. And I'd forgotten about the Icelanders testing, they would test the ice to see that there was no soft spots where we would fall through, because they had those things. And I had trained on the glacier in Iceland with them, and we ran into a couple of those crevasses. You were going across them, and we were roped in, and you'd lose a guy. He'd just disappear. He'd go and break, and he'd go on down. Of course, he was roped in the front and rear, and so we'd be able to haul him back out of there. But we didn't want to lose anybody up there, and that was something we had to be careful about. When we got down to the ice edge, I don't know how we would have climbed down there to get in a bobbing boat and get back off the glacier. So we were really pressed for time, and it was because of the weather. And if we'd have had more time and we'd have done it right, I think we would have got everybody. I do. I'm sorry.
Do you know who is missing their name?
Help me out.
And I don't. Oh, $2 a day.
You know who it is? I don't.
You know Mr. Name?
Yes, I do. There, and there, I'm sure Bob's got it, or if he doesn't, he can lay his hand on it.
Inside, 3 feet under the snow.
We had no briefing of what the conditions were on the glacier. We knew that the weather was good, that was all. We hadn't been told that it had snowed. Although the Icelanders had taken shovels, and we had good snow shovels. And they had the equipment, by the way, also. Another reason I wanted them to go with us. They had glacier equipment where we could get out of the cold weather we had that, when we had to have rest, and they knew how to cook in the cold weather, and they were good cooks, and that, but we didn't have a clue that there was 2 to 3 feet of snow over there when we got there.
Could you please read that list of names?
Could, where the various parts of the aircraft were at, as well as where we recovered remains. I did that. And I stepped it off and as best I could in the snow with, and notations and numbered it. Whatever happened, and then I did an after-action report that had a lot more in it than I can remember now. Whatever became of that, I don't know. I forwarded it to my commanding officer, who forwarded it to the station commander, I think, and then it went off up to IDF, and where it went from there, I don't know, but I've been told by Bob and some others that it's never, they don't know where it is. If it went in the archives or somebody kept it or they never forwarded it, it may still be sitting in a box in Iceland. I don't know where it is. But that was done. We did do that. We did everything we could, and did it to the best of our ability. It wasn't good enough, and I don't apologize for it. We did what we thought was best and what we had and the time we had to do it. And we didn't, we weren't endangered except if the weather turned bad and we couldn't get off the glacier. That was the only thing that was bad for us.
What was the name of the replacement commander?
Could be.
Commander Kopak.
All right. I won't argue with you. It's been a long time. Yeah. Anything else? And if you want, and I'll stick around. If you want to ask me questions privately after, I'll be glad to answer them. Yes, sir.
What's the elevation of crack line? What constituted a crack line? Elevation 4,000.
Well,
4,300 feet.
yeah, I was gonna say 2,400. The thing you need to remember, I think, is, two things you need to remember is, one, is they don't think they knew where they were at. I don't think they had a clue where they were at, and they were doing the best they could to do what they were sent out there to do. And they were in the suit. And they hit the ground hard, and they died in, so they didn't suffer one bit. I'm positive of it. I'll hang around, folks. You want to ask me questions, I'll be glad to talk to you. I thought about that mission many, many times, and there's other things that I thought about too, from other times also, but I was always sorry that, and I didn't know that we didn't recover everybody until I got the call from Don Latterman. There was no feedback of what we had accomplished or not accomplished, and so I didn't know anything of it. But it's a pleasure to come here. I'm really proud to have the opportunity to talk to you, and I appreciate the fact that you had asked me to come down and tell you what I know, which was not a lot. And I apologize for not knowing more or remembering more. It's gone, and I don't remember what. Yes, sir.
Where is the holdup?
I'm sure I don't know. Well, it's View Air, View PERS, somebody talking about the appropriation of money, but Bob knows more about that than I do, and he has more contacts with those folks than I do, but it's a fun thing, I'm sure. But when I go back, one of the things I'm gonna do is, we have an excellent senator from North Carolina, and I'm gonna talk to him, and see if he'll do something also.
I would like to quickly thank Bob Hetley for doing the call of yours.